So guys, we're gonna talk about Splatfest in general, at least from the past, whatchamacallit, the last two Splatfests. And technically we're also gonna be talking about Team Sweep and all this other stuff that's been going on. So my editing skills are really poor, so I'm just gonna be like talking. But for the past two Splatfests, the most popular team, at least using the polls that people did on Twitter, YouTube, and other places, at least for the West anyway. Milk chocolate was top in the West and back in February, and Team Aliens was almost 60% of the vote on almost every single poll just recently. Now, the issue is especially with these types of polls, is that we didn't really get it wrong for this one, at least for how many people actually picked the team. For the chocolate Splatfest, we got it way wrong because didn't get any Japanese polls, so the numbers were messed up. But the main part of this is that when too many people pick a team in this game specifically, mainly because, if you look at the choices here, we have Bigfoot, we have Nessie, and we have Aliens. These are at least the ones I have on my screen right now. Like, if you're thinking about it, because Nessie did win. Like, not a lot of people, especially like outside of the West, know about Bigfoot. So Bigfoot's already a bad choice for this. The concept of aliens is too strong, and Nessie's just like a well-rounded one. So the issue with the newer Splatfest is, I think it's been throughout the entire game. It's more noticeable now. Is that the popularity is significantly hurting the popular team. So Team Aliens might have had 46% of the vote during the Splatfest, but still lost because they kept getting mirror battles. Especially if you watch streams and stuff, kept getting mirror battles over and over again in Tricolor. I think Nessie got some too, because when you look at the final results, popularity of both teams is fairly similar. But Bigfoot was around 8.69% of the total popularity. And that's bad because for Tricolor to work, you need a certain amount of people on each team. Because, like, for example, like if you're doing for the Water Splatfest, even though this is before they changed it, when there weren't too many mirror matches because Team Fire and Grass were big enough, so you can always get new people in there. Like, you might get the occasional like water mirror battle, like occasionally, but it's not like there were too many water players to the point of, okay, constant mirrors and stuff like that. It was, okay, water is the most popular team, but fire is also pretty big, and grass isn't tiny. It's also pretty large as well. It might have been like, I think it's like 25%, and fire is like 36%, something around there. I think they're actually similar in popularity. But in that Splatfest, there weren't a lot of mirror battles, and the popular team, which was Big Man's team, Team Water, actually won. The issue though is that later, when they dropped the Team Sweet Splatfest, the main issue is that Team Sweet kind of overrides all the other choices. Sour isn't really a popular taste a lot of people have. Spicy was a good one, but what would have been better is that they had spicy sweet, and they had a lot of people were saying savory would have been good, or salty. That would also work too, because then now actually split up the vote more instead of sour, which only got 10% of the vote, but still managed to win. I think they still managed to win pro. Because Team Sweet had won popularity and sneak peek, but they only won open because in Tricolor battle until Spillway they kept getting mirrors, like the next two Splatfest teams got. The good thing is though that there weren't even though there were mirrors, there was still a chance to get more of a chance to actually find a real match. So it wasn't as bad in Tricolor as it is for like Team Aliens or Team Nessie. So the main thing for these videos, I like to say, we already know who's gonna win. Like, we don't really know that. I think what we're gonna have to start thinking about is that even though the popular team has the most people, we have to consider, are the choices on the Splatfest balanced? Because if they're not, then actually you want to pick the second most popular team. Because if you think about it, Team Aliens had about 46% of the vote, but on Oppose it's 60%. So if you do the math, that's around a 14% difference, 14-point difference. But if overall, like let's say later on in the game, like they make better Splatfest team balance, so like choices make more sense and more people choose all the teams because they're evenly balanced and not subjective, and there's no real like right answer or something that's extremely popular. Like I think that will work better because then the actual Splatfest itself can actually work. Splatfest in their current state can't really work when you have one team that's just basically dead, and you have one team that's super popular, and then you have the one normal-ish team that has like 20-30% of the vote and is able to actually, get clout because number one, they're not getting into mirrors constantly. Number two is they're actually able, it's a big enough pool of them to actually get into tricolor. And most likely, since they have like 20-30% of the people there, it's also probably going to be a good amount of people who are, good at the game. Because there's also one like downside to having the most popular team, and that is, even though you have the most popular team, it's yes, we have more people than you, but a lot of the people who join the team might just be bad. Like overall, like they just might be bad, terrible. Like they can't do, like they're bad at turf war, and they just don't know how to play the game as well as other people can. That's not a bad thing, but when you have more of those types of people on your team, and the enemy team has more of a well-rounded like skill range, where there's more better players or people who at least have A rank like skill to go and destroy your team, and do stuff and actually gain clout for your team. It starts to add up where you're starting to get gains where you're getting low clout, no clout, stuff like that. You're not getting your 10x's, you're not getting your 100x's because of either mirrors or bad teammates, because of the popularity of your team and most people picking it just so they can get the extra snails, and because the team is just popular. So those things kind of add up, and you end up with Team Aliens for that one. But if you're talking about like wrong polls and still having mirror battles, Milk Chocolate is a prime example of that, because Milk Chocolate, although we thought it was going to win, slam dunk, it didn't because White Chocolate had the advantage of having a cool color, and the color is really popular in Japan. So that was about, I think they got 40%, about 40% of the popularity, and they were pretty good too. They had a lot of good players on their team. Milk Chocolate didn't have too many good players on their team. Dark Chocolate wasn't really worth talking about, and White Chocolate swept the board again like Team Water did, and surprisingly enough, it was Big Man who did it. But yeah, overall, for things in the future that Splatfest needs to change, they need better teams. They need to increase the chances of 10x's more, so it's easier to get those 100x's in 30x battles. What else? I would just say like overall better matchmaking. Like I would say for people who play turf, I think it should do like for people who have like high ranks and stuff, it should also input that into like the calculation for the matchmaking. So it's like, oh, this player was an X rank, it's an X rank at this power, and they have this win rate, and they have this skill level for this certain thing, and I think that would help a lot with the matchmaking. So lower level players or people who aren't as good aren't getting constantly steamrolled by people because of matchmaking issues. Overall, I think Pro itself is fine. The tricolor thing is also good, but the issue is tricolor doesn't work if the teams aren't balanced enough. Like tricolor is a very good mode, However, it's only a good mode if the devs actually put time into thinking about what a good team options will look like. Those are the only two things that they could possibly do. Because if the team choices aren't good, then you're going to run into a situation where the most popular team just keeps getting mirrors, and because they keep getting mirrors, they're getting 0 clout. 0 times a million is still 0. While the second most popular team, they might still be getting some mirrors, but they're getting less than the popular team, so they keep getting clout. So their average keeps going up. And that becomes a problem, because now the popular team doesn't know what to do. Because if some of the popular team logs off, it would actually benefit them, right? If people log off on a popular team, then that kind of evens out the ratio. But it doesn't completely solve the issue, because you have two teams that are still more popular than one team that's almost entirely dead. So how are you going to get that one team into the tricolor? So that's why you can't have dead teams in Splatfest, because it ruins pretty much everything. Doesn't really ruin Open or Pro that much, but it hurts tricolor the most, because that's where you actually need the 3 teams. I think they could also do something where they just have, like maybe they do it where you happen to tricolor, but there's only Team Aliens and Team Nessie in there. So maybe you just like split it, right? Like, I wouldn't say it should cost clout, but maybe you have, right? You have team, if you have 4 or 4 of each player, what you could do is that you could put 2 Team Nessie, 2 Team Aliens. Just insert team name here for whatever. And then the 4 people who spawn in on the sides represent, or just like put on like a replacement team, kind of. Like, they still get clout if they win, but it's not like they're on Bigfoot. Like, you have the people who are on team, like, they still are on Team Aliens, Team Nessie, but like when they hop into the tricolor game and there's only those 2 teams, they change their identification to a different, like, in color or a different team. So all those people on that team still get clout, but Team Nessie and Aliens on the other side, the ones that are still on the teams officially, don't get any clout if they lose. But if the people in the middle win, then they get half the clout that they would normally get for being defender, because there's not all 3 teams there. I think that would work pretty well. But other than that, guys, that's what I wanted to talk about for the Splatfest. They really do need to improve how their choices for this, and just overall make the mode better. I don't think Splatfests are bad, but they have to make the choices better to make the experience feel the best, because we can't keep having mirrors and people turning the game off just because they can't get into a real game. Alright, guys, I'm going to see you guys later.